Ryan Gosling has been in the spotlight for over 20 years, yet he's never behaved like someone chasing it. There's a method to his quietness. Not an attempt to be mysterious, but a refusal to over-explain. His career reads like a sequence of controlled experiments, testing how much you can strip away and still move people. From Disney sets to art house drama, from romantic leads to existential sci-fi, Gosling didn't climb. He drifted, adjusted, and recalibrated. This isn't the story of a man obsessed with fame. It's about someone who learned to use stillness as a tool and distance as protection. Part 1. Early Fragments. He grew up in Ontario, Canada, far from any film industry. His childhood wasn't dramatic, just isolated enough to make imagination necessary. When his parents separated, acting became both distraction and discipline. At 12, he joined the Mickey Mouse Club, surrounded by young performers who would later become pop giants. Gosling wasn't a natural showman. He watched more than he spoke. That habit, observation before performance, would define him later. After Disney, he worked through a handful of TV parts, waiting for something authentic. That something appeared in The Believer, 2001, a Jewish neo-Nazi torn by ideology. The film didn't make money, but it made an actor out of him. In hindsight, that role was a declaration of intent. He didn't want to be another face in the system. He wanted tension, risk, material that provoked him. Part 2, The Notebook and The Detour. Mainstream fame came with The Notebook, 2004. The film turned him into a romantic figure overnight, though he never seemed comfortable with that image. While studios tried to repeat the formula, he stepped back. He spent the next few years avoiding repetition, choosing projects that risked failure over comfort. By Half Nelson, 2006, he'd shifted into serious territory. A teacher struggling with addiction, a raw performance that earned him his first Oscar nomination. Gosling understood early that exposure and control are opposites in Hollywood. After The Notebook, he could have turned into a standard leading man. Instead, he built a reputation for stepping away when things got predictable. Part 3. Finding depth. Gosling's next roles, Lars and the Real Girl and Blue Valentine, showed how far he was willing to go from convention. He played loneliness not as tragedy, but as realism. In both films, the emotional impact came from understatement. He worked almost like an independent filmmaker inside studio structures, preferring low budgets and long rehearsals to red carpets. His choices shaped a reputation, a reliable actor for directors who wanted control, nuance, and no ego on set. Preparation underpinned simplicity. He built characters through routine, learning real piano for La La Land, real driving for Drive, shadowing addicts for Half Nelson. That discipline, invisible on screen, is what made the quiet moments believable. Part 4. The Shift to Iconography. Then came Drive, 2011. It wasn't just a success, it redefined his image. As the driver, Gosling created an archetype, a near-silent man whose calm masks violence. But the important part is what followed. He didn't chase similar scripts. He experimented with The Place Beyond the Pines, another study of fate and legacy, and Only God Forgives, a divisive collaboration with Nicholas Winding Refn. Gosling later said working with Refn was like learning to act without safety nets. Both Drive and Only God Forgives reduced dialogue to the bare minimum, forcing expression through posture, glance, breathing. He explored how performance could exist almost without words, relying purely on tension. Part 5. Control and Direction. Around that period, he tried directing. Lost River, 2014, wasn't well received, but it proved a point. He wasn't interested in predictability. Then came The Big Short and La La Land. One was cynical and fast-talking, the other idealistic and musical. Together, they showed the range between sarcasm and sincerity. Those films marked a turning point. He re-entered mainstream cinema on his own terms. He wasn't the romantic lead or the anti-hero. He was a technician of tone. He could make you believe in fantasy and cynicism without reinventing himself. That balance made him an anchor for modern Hollywood. Dependable, but never obvious. Part 6. The Mature Phase. By the time Blade Runner 2049 arrived, Gosling had entered a quieter phase of stardom. He wasn't selling personality, he was embodying Perspective K. His replicant character spends most of the film learning he's ordinary, not special. Later came First Man, where he portrayed Neil Armstrong not as a hero, but as an engineer burdened by grief. It's the closest his acting has come to transparency. Nothing exaggerated, nothing unnecessary. These roles share a core: detachment. They explore men who function inside systems larger than themselves, suppressing emotion to survive. His calm wasn't a lack of feeling, it was discipline made visible. Part 7. Pop Culture Revisited. Barbie, 2023, surprised people who thought he'd outgrown satire. The role of Ken worked because he played it straight. He treated parody like tragedy. That contrast made it effective. What's consistent is his detachment from performance culture itself. He avoids social media, rarely promotes himself beyond necessity. That absence adds to the myth, but it's also a boundary, the same one he's kept since childhood. His return to mainstream comedy after years of controlled drama was calculated. It proved he understands cultural cycles. Sometimes re-entering the conversation is the performance itself. By leaning into irony instead of resisting it, he stayed relevant in a new media landscape. Part 8. Reflection. Looking back, Gosling's path isn't about transformation, it's about refinement. He removed layers until only intention was left. He moved from youthful energy to calculated stillness without losing credibility. Actors often talk about disappearing into roles. Gosling practices it literally. No loud persona, no controversy, no desperate reinvention. Just steady work, from small Canadian stages to global cinema, built on the idea that subtlety endures longer than hype. He's one of the few actors whose restraint has become a signature. Directors know exactly what they'll get: focus, control, and an ability to create tension in silence. That consistency makes his career a blueprint for longevity in an unstable industry. Ryan Gosling's career proves that consistency can be radical. While others burn out chasing reinvention, he's evolved by subtraction. Every project feels like an extension of the same question: what happens when you remove everything that's unnecessary? Maybe that's the core of his craft. Not mystery, not myth, just precision. He doesn't perform to be adored. He performs to understand. And that, in an industry built on noise, might be the quietest rebellion of all. This has been Bio Vault. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this journey, remember to like, share, and subscribe for more stories of the icons who shaped our world.